This is the Detroit Sports Podcast Network.
Today's episode of the DocNJock Wrestling Podcast is brought to you by The Athletic. Premium coverage for passionate Detroit sports fans. Listeners of this podcast can save 30% off the first year of an annual subscription by going and visiting theathletic.com/DSP. Don't miss out on a great Detroit sports website. Go check out theathletic.com/DSP.
Oh my God!
Welcome to episode 36 of the DocNJock Wrestling Podcast. This show is jam-packed. I've got an update on what's going on with All In, WWE pulling some shenanigans, sitting there cock-blocking ROH, some BS. We've got some Hell in the Cell matches already set. What? Yeah, of course we got your Inside Edition there. We're going to review Raw and SmackDown, and to help me do all that, he's my homie. He's my ace. He's the dude who, if you ever try to creep up behind me, he's going to hit you in the face with a steel chair. He is the Doc, John Macaroon. What's up, cuz?
Rusev Fudria, Rusev Machka.
You know what day it is, cuz?
It's Rusev Day, baby.
No! It's DOC Day, baby! Welcome. I'm here. I'm in the building. Number one contender. You know what's up, baby.
In my head, when you started playing that, I just envisioned you coming out wearing Rusev's tights.
You're right, exactly.
And just having oil all up on your chest.
It's all good, baby.
With the big old man beard and the follically challengedness.
I'm curious to see
Awesome.
and talk about what you thought of Rusev, because he had to carry a show on SmackDown that was devoid of stars. I was like, a SmackDown devoid of its biggest stars. I'm interested to get your take on how Rusev performed, but let's kick it off with Monday Night Raw. I enjoyed Monday Night Raw. I liked it throughout. There were some times, though, that I said, wow, I can see where fans and supporters can get turned off by this because of the fact that the opening segment, I mean, did it not seem to you like it was a replay of what we saw just 7 days ago?
Yes.
And
exactly.
It was
And
shocking.
On top of it.
Shocking.
On top of it, Bobby Lashley. I really like Lashley, all right? So let me just put that out there.
Okay.
Because now I'm going to critique him hard.
Yes.
He struggles with the promos. You remember when Bobby Lashley was in WWE originally? Mm-hmm. Yeah, he struggled with promos then. And then he went to TNA. And he struggled a little bit, but they got so much better.
All right.
And now he's back in WWE, and they are extremely rough.
When you lose a promo battle to Roman Reigns,
It's not good.
you got to take some classes or something's got to change,
Not
right?
Good. So this opening segment, it was long. It was really just a pissing contest between Roman Reigns and Bobby Lashley. This, I believe, is setting up for a match at Extreme Rules between the two, because Brock Lesnar weaseled his way out of having a match, and we're going to kind of talk about that a little bit. But Dash and Dawson come out, and they challenge the two to yet another tag team match, which was basically the same exact thing as last week until Dash rolled up Roman for the 1, 2, 3. So I was really turned off by the first 30 minutes. What'd you think?
I was turned off by the promo, but I really liked the revival. They looked excellent. I feel like, okay, you know what? Their bit regarding the way that they come out and say that, hey, you know what? We don't need all the gimmicks. We don't need all this. We're just guys that are old school, and we handle our business. So I like Dawson and Wilder. They get a much-needed win. It looks like they're getting a little bit of the rub off of the superstars. But in terms of Roman Reigns, Bobby Lashley, it just tells me that, yeah, it's time to kind of pay Brock Lesnar some money, get him back on the show. You need him as part of the mix. And I know he knows that. He knows he's watching this going, oh, this show would be 10 times better if I'm in it. But how do you weave a storyline with Lashley and Roman Reigns? And you're trying to elevate Bobby Lashley, trying to do work with Roman Reigns. It just seems like that course, it's just, let's get to SummerSlam and let's see where it goes. But I'm interested to see what Dawson and Wilder do going forward.
So side note, again, Brock has rejected any match at this time. There was a shoot tweet where Paul Heyman came out and basically roasted what WWE was doing. They posted a poll on who you wanted to see Brock Lesnar challenge next, and Paul Heyman basically cut it down. and went ham on Bobby Lashley and Roman Reigns. This all could have been fixed because what WWE is now stuck trying to do, Brock Lesnar has their championship belt.
Yeah.
And he doesn't have to give it back because he can pick and choose when he wants to fight. So what WWE is trying to do is they want to set something up where they can get that belt off of Brock and get it back on Monday Night Raw and have it be a integral part of whatever storyline's going on. This all could have been fixed when after Bobby Lashley dismantled Sami Zayn, which was horrible, and set his character back light years. He could have came out and he could have just grabbed the mic and said, look, I'm here for one reason alone, and it's to fight Brock Lesnar. I want Brock Lesnar. I don't care what Roman Reigns says. Roman Reigns does not deserve to fight Brock Lesnar. Do you fans want to see Roman Reigns fight Brock Lesnar again? And the whole crowd would have erupted and said no, because we've already seen it 19 times. He could have came on and said, I'm the baddest man on the planet. I'm here to take out Brock Lesnar. Feed me Brock Lesnar. Basically pulled Brock Lesnar's own verbiage and used it against him and set up a match. Like, dude, I just booked this in 3 seconds, not even thinking about it.
Right.
Like, done and over. We could have been good.
But you know what's going on with WWE that is also as tiresome as the long-ass promos is when you got two rivals and you put them in together as a tag team.
Yeah.
Not only did they do that in the opening segment, they went on to do it 2 more times later in Raw. Stop it. It's like...
It's lazy booking.
It's like, okay, we understand that two guys that don't want to work together in a tag team can then set off a feud when you have them work against each other, but it's tired. Nobody wants to see it. And the ratings for this week's Raw reflected that in that early on, it was way down as opposed to the first hour of last week's Raw. So the fans are telling you, we don't like the way you're opening the shows. But what it did do, though, was the way that they promoted the main event of the show definitely helped because people tuned in and said, oh, these two guys, we want to see wrestle, and we'll talk about that. But the next situation that happened was a surprise win for the B team. Axel defeats Matt Hardy. I thought that was cool.
I thought their engagement with their promos and them impersonating Matt Hardy and Bray Wyatt, I think is awesome. And I find this to be a very funny feud.
They're funny, right?
And I find it to be very entertaining. I think this is awesome. I think this is really good. This is how you get a group of guys who weren't doing anything. Go back last year. What were Bo Dallas and Curtis Axel doing at this time? They weren't doing anything. They were nothing. And they spent a large part of the year being the sidekicks for The Miz. And The Miz basically told them, like, you're my sidekicks. This is what you're going to be. This is what you guys are. And they have now come into their own. I think this is awesome. And it's really interesting to see them get a shot at the tag team belts against Matt Hardy and Bray Wyatt. And I could see them joining with the ranks of Matt Hardy and Bray Wyatt. I could see them beating Matt Hardy and Bray Wyatt, and then I could see them joining their team. I find this to be just a really weird paradox.
Great jobbers, Rich and Rex Gibson get destroyed by the Authors of Pain.
I'm glad you got their name, because that was just like the Job Squad.
It was great. Their outfits, they're like green and red outfits. Rich,
they look like Christmas elves.
Yeah. Rich and Rex Gibson get destroyed by Authors of Pain. It was good to see them because I was surprised the way you introed them and then you had them off TV for a week.
Yeah.
That's kind of not the best way to introduce a new tag team, right?
Absolutely not. So now they're going to have a feud with Titus Worldwide. That's what we're building towards here. And I don't think AOP ever needs to be terrified of Titus Worldwide. It's just not good. We then have a solid women's match where Natty beats Alexa Bliss. What did you think of this women's match? Compare this to the 6-woman tag match that we had where Ruby Riott rolls up Sasha Banks for the win. Because right after Sasha gets rolled up for the win, Bayley comes in and just destroys her. So I thought we had back-to-back women's matches that were both really, really solid. Natty shows up with Nia Jax. Alexa Bliss is out there with Mickie James. That was a really good match. It told a really good story. I don't think it's going to lead anywhere, but it told a good story. And
the best way to put it was it just didn't have a moment where you went, oh, that's a key moment in that match. It was a quick match.
Yeah.
And I feel like the promo was a little bit long. So to intro that match, long promo to intro the match, it was just like, oh, come on. And so I was ready for the segment to end. I felt like you could have had Alexa win the match, but you had Natalya win, so that's okay as well. I just would say that in some situations, booking has to give these women a little bit more time to tell their stories, a little bit less on the promo, and women like Natalya and Bliss don't have to be on the mic.
No.
Let them tell their story through wrestling.
In the ring.
Yeah, exactly.
I thought it was
more time.
I thought it was a really good match.
Exactly.
I did. I agree with you that the promo was long, but I thought the match was really, really
Just
good.
no real big spot or big highlight.
Yes.
Just a match.
So then fast forward that, and now contrast that to what we had with the 6-woman tag. I thought the 6-woman tag was really good.
Alicia Fox is still with Raw?
Yeah, she came back from injury, I guess.
Right.
I didn't know she was still there. But I thought this was a solid match. I thought the build to this match was absolutely atrocious. Kurt Angle being like, look, you and Sasha, telling Bayley, you and Sasha have to team together. We got to put you in there. Like, there's no creative idea on how to get these two in the ring. Like, you couldn't just be like, look, you guys have issues. We're going to settle this in the ring. Get to the ring, grab your gear, and go. You couldn't do that, and you couldn't have Sasha be the heel for most of the match and then have Bayley just out-heel her. Easy booking. Easy. Let them tell the story in the ring. Treat them like the men. Men can tell the story in the ring, so can the women. My big question coming out of all of this, because I'm still not 100% sure, is Bayley the heel here? Like, she took the boots to Sasha. She beat the tar out of her. There was a point in this beatdown where she grabbed her off of the side of the ring and she slammed her onto the mat outside. Like picked her up and then just threw her down with all the force in the world. So is Bayley going to become a heel now? And like when she was standing over her, she dropped a couple F-bombs on her.
Yeah.
And she was like, bitch, you deserve this. Like, her words, not mine. She said that.
Here's the problem with this feud and the way it started. It's like you've dragged it on so long for over 4 months that it should have been over by now. It should have ended and culminated at Money in the Bank.
Mm-hmm.
Now you're going to carry this out for probably another 6 months into what? SummerSlam, into Survivor Series. It's just a long setup for a feud that probably could have been wrapped up in 3 months. I'm not invested in this feud per se, but it's nice to see because, you know, you've built it up. And so in terms of the storyline, it's fine. I can understand it. But for me, I'm not interested. But the image of Bayley glaring down Sasha Banks was cool. It's done well. These two are going to put on a great feud. And I think it's going to deliver. But it's just, for me, it could have been done.
Too little, too late.
Too little, too late.
I think the backstage promos for all of this and the conversations that are had between Bayley and Kurt Angle, and when Bayley goes to address something with Sasha, I could do without all of that. Like, I don't need to know that that Bayley's got to go to counseling now.
Yeah.
You totally cut her character down
Yeah.
and demean her character.
Does that mean I'm going to get a call from Kurt Angle?
By doing, they should call you.
Some anger management?
They should call
Did
you.
someone say anger management?
Like, I don't understand why they have to do that. Just let her be a badass.
Right.
Like, it's okay if she's a badass. She
Right.
doesn't need to be messed with. Like, you just had a great spot, and the crowd loved it. The crowd erupted. Like, they haven't been that jazzed up for a bit in a hot minute, and then you sit there and you show this backstage promo where you're like, you got to go to counseling next week. Like, what? What are we talking about here? What is going on? Bad. Like, you don't need to demean her character. So then we have a pretty good match. Kevin Owens, Braun Strowman. This is the main event you were talking about. Those two are going to tag up because Braun is just having revolving tag team partners. It's him, his briefcase, and whoever he decides he wants to wrestle with this week versus Finn Balor and Constable Corbin. In the end, this match is a count out because Finn and Constable Corbin just go at each other and are just laying waste to each other. So it was really cool to see Kevin Owens and Braun Strowman celebrate and be excited about this. I don't know if it was the correct finish for the match, but it was cool to see those two pumped up and jazzed up about it.
And they pumped up the crowd, which was
They did.
A crowd that throughout the show kind of went in and out. This match kind of reinvigorated the crowd, and it was nice to see.
Now, I don't know why Baron Corbin has to wrestle in dress clothes. Can you explain this to me?
Right.
Like, this is like one small critique for this entire thing. Like,
Right.
I don't know why he dresses in
What do you think of the Constable getting into now a feud with Finn Balor? I feel like for Finn Balor, it's a step down in feuds, but I could see them putting on good matches, maybe a win from the Constable, getting him some rub off of Finn Balor, with Finn Balor eventually winning the feud. But Finn Balor should be in bigger profile stuff, and to put him against Baron Corbin, I can understand what it would do for Corbin, much better for him.
Right.
For Finn Balor, what would it do to put him in a feud with this guy?
no idea.
Right,
No,
well, why?
No
Right?
clue. No clue. But you're right. He needs to be doing something. I guess this is his something. He should be in a higher profile.
See, the problem is when you put him with somebody else, like if you want to put Finn Balor with Dolph Ziggler, they could have some quality matches and do some stuff, and then have Seth Rollins go on to face Drew McIntyre.
Great
But
segue.
that
Great
may
segue.
that
Look
may
at you.
happen.
Look at you.
That may happen.
Great segue.
But unfortunately, they were not at that point yet. So we got to wait for this stupid feud to take place, and maybe, just maybe, Dolph Dolph Ziggler comes out and maybe helps Corbin win so that you don't take off any rub from Finn Balor. But in the end, I would like to see Finn Balor maybe move up into the IC title picture.
He should be wearing a belt at some point. We move into what was the main event of the main events. And that was a 30-minute
great contest.
Awesome match between
We were all looking
Seth
for
Rollins and Dolph Ziggler.
All looking forward to it. We were like, okay, you built up to it. Great promo throughout the show. We were all excited for a match, and it delivered up until the decision.
Well, yeah. But you knew this was what was going to happen, right? How does Dolph Ziggler win a belt last week and then
Right, he's not going to drop it.
Right. And you're trying to give Dolph a little bit of heat here. You're trying to give him a little bit of a push. So I think this worked out perfect because, look, Seth wins the match, right?
By DQ.
Right. Dolph doesn't lose his belt. And at the same time, Drew McIntyre looks like a monster. And now this sets up for a tag match next week.
Yeah.
You're going to have Seth Rollins and you're going to have Roman Reigns teaming up to take on Dolph Ziggler and Drew McIntyre. And it's going to be great to see because you've got the guy, right, that nobody likes. And you've got the new guy who everybody is in love with. And they're just going to butt heads. Did you see the way that Drew McIntyre was staring down, burning a hole through Roman Reigns at the very end of all of this? It was incredible. It was awesome. You have one guy who's chomping at the bit to take out the guy. It's going to be great. Plus, I think we're now done with whatever this Bobby Lashley, Roman Reigns thing is.
Yeah.
Because this now, put these guys together. Let these guys go and just
These
tear
four.
the house down. Like, all four of these guys can put on a great show. Let them tear the house down.
Dolph Ziggler has been rejuvenated working with Drew. You can put Drew into any contest, and people are going to be excited to see what he's going to come up with. You go back and forth with The Shield. You have Roman Reigns and Seth Rollins. I would say that if you wanted to change it up and book it differently, you could have just had Dolph Ziggler win the match outright, and now you introduce Drew McIntyre coming into the ring for an epic beatdown and just have the same result, but just with the clean victory. Seth Rollins is not above losing.
No.
Right now, with the quality of matches that he's putting out there, having him lose clean to Dolph does a couple things. One, you elevate Dolph continuously because you validate his title win. And two, you then can make him a victim when he gets beat down, where it can be a couple close finishes, a couple finishes where you thought that Seth was going to win it, and then eventually you have Dolph Ziggler win it because the title holder should have some respect, and they should go away with these DQ finishes for title holders so that you don't take rub off of Seth Rollins. Because at this point in time, with how hot Seth Rollins is, a clean loss helps Dolph Ziggler and does not hurt Seth Rollins because of where his place is. He's having matches that we all want to see. He's carrying the show. He's put in the main event. So the only decision I would have made differently was just have Dolph win it clean and then have Drew McIntyre come in to celebrate after getting thrown out and come in and destroy Seth Rollins a little bit more. Maybe make the match 2 minutes shorter, extra 2-minute beatdown, and then you have Roman Reigns come in, and that's how you build a little bit of support for Seth Rollins. It's not a bad thing to lose a matchup to the title holder. That's why Dolph is the title holder. It's not a bad thing because when you use a DQ finish, it's lazy because of the fact that an average podcaster called it last Wednesday. I said, oh, well, you know what's going to happen in the next match. You're going to kick off a new feud.
You're not an average podcaster.
Oh, thank you very much. Above average podcaster.
You're spectacular.
Yeah, so it was just too predictable. And when you call it a week in advance, it's just like, oh, come on. I was like, give us a little bit of a swerve, but it didn't happen.
Overall, I thought it was a decent Raw.
Decent.
A little bit inconsistent.
Decent, yep.
Especially with the way the beginning of it started.
You got it.
You had some lulls in the middle, but you had some really good matches throughout, right?
Right.
You wrapped it up with an awesome, what I'm calling 2 main events. You had your Braun Strowman, Kevin Owens moment, which was great, and then you had Seth Rollins and you had Dolph Ziggler tear the house down.
Yes.
And it was incredible. It was just a little inconsistent. Again, Raw's a little inconsistent, but I feel like it's much better than where we were, say, 3-4 weeks ago.
Yep.
All right, let's transition over to SmackDown. SmackDown opens with a 10-minute promo with The Miz, the Bludgeon Brothers, and eventually Daniel Bryan comes out. And this sets up our main event with Daniel Bryan taking on Luke Harper. So, interesting open. Nothing great, nothing spectacular. It was The Miz doing Miz TV, so it was pretty good. The Miz and Daniel Bryan can basically carry anything and everything, so it's going to get a thumbs up because those two guys were in it doing good work. We then have a match between Rusev and Xavier Woods. What'd you make of this match?
See, it was one of those things where I go, okay, there's an announcement that Shinsuke, prior to the show, is not going to fight Jeff Hardy. They changed that up because Shinsuke got an injury, and we'll tell you how later on.
And that was supposed to be our main event.
Yeah, supposed to be the main event.
So the whole card's now just been adjusted.
Now the whole card's been adjusted. You got Rusev in there, and you go, oh, okay, it's a good match. I'm okay with it. How did Rusev perform? It was okay, but I wanted to see more of Rusev versus AJ Styles. So coming off of that, I said, I don't want to see Rusev versus the New Day. I want to see promos with AJ Styles. I want to see them, elevate their feud, more heat, maybe have Rusev attack AJ Styles, because right now, what's Rusev's role? Is he a face? Is he a heel? What's he going to do in this feud? So fine to have Rusev in that matchup. It's just, it was disappointing without, the marquee phenomenal one, AJ Styles. So it hurt me in terms of watching that.
Do you know what we talk about this all the time? Giving a guy a day off, resting a guy. He doesn't always need to be there on the show. And I think they're doing that now with AJ Styles. They might do this with Rusev next week. Rusev might get the day off, and you might see a match with AJ Styles.
Yeah.
I think it keeps the guys interesting when they're not on all the time.
But then it should have been just a promo where you give Rusev the same day off.
I don't think so.
A scathing promo against AJ.
I don't think so. I think what you could have done to make this better is had Rusev go against a guy like Big E. I think Rusev versus Big E, that's two big, powerful guys who are athletic as all hell. Let them go in there and give them 30 minutes to beat the tar out of each other, because both those guys can carry a match. Both those guys are athletic enough to do it, and they can both cut a pretty good promo. So you let them beat each other up. In the end, Rusev gets the W, and then let Rusev cut his scathing promo after. I think that's the one way you could have made this much better. I thought it was a good match, but I thought it could have been better.
Yes.
We then have Jeff Hardy, who was, again, set to face Nakamura. Turns out Nakamura was bit by a police dog at the Monday Night House show. Some more information I was able to glean from this was a lot of this is coming from Dave Meltzer and Pro Wrestling Sheet, so credit to those guys. But it turns out that they were at the house show, and at the house show, they have security there. They have police there. Police have a police dog. The police dog was sniffing around and bit Nakamura on the leg. So the medical staff could not clear him to wrestle because of the dog bite. It's expected he'll be back in it next week. So then what we end up having is a U.S. Open challenge, which Eric Young answers.
Oh.
Now, I think this is interesting, and I think this is the right call.
Yep.
And the reason I think this is the right call is because Eric Young and Jeff Hardy both wrestled in TNA, and they both wrestled each other in TNA.
Right.
So, short notice, you got to find a guy who you have some decent chemistry with, somebody who you can dance with, and it usually helps that you dance with them before. These two have danced before. I thought this was the right call. It's a way to spotlight Sanity, give them a little bit of time, and it's a way to let Jeff Hardy do what Jeff Hardy has to do, because he was not.
And for the WWE fans, you legitimize Young because they don't know him. You have him do some moves. You have him acclimate himself to the crowd, because the first time they seen him, he was just doing these crazy things. Now you see him and go, oh, this guy can wrestle.
It's a good match.
Good match.
It was a good match. It worked out really well. The Usos end up coming out in the middle of it, which I think it's the right call. I think this is a good call, because now what happens is, you don't have Eric Young lose, and you don't have him lose clean, and you don't have Jeff Hardy lose. So you bring the Usos out, and now this breaks down into a 6-way tag match, which everybody got their spots in. Everybody got their work in. This worked out to be exceptional for what was a total mess. I mean, going into the night, you're not sure if Nakamura is going to be able to go. You've got Jeff Hardy. You promised this main event. You're not really sure what you're going to be able to do. You got these guys, Sanity, who you kind of spotlighted a little bit last week. You had them rough up the Usos. You want to get the Usos on. How do you take crap and turn this into an awesome show? They did it here with this. This was a really good usage of guys who you didn't have a lot going for, because everything was kind of turned upside down. You have a really good 6-way match, and I think this helps protect storylines going forward, because now Jeff Hardy, if Nakamura is not cleared next week, Jeff Hardy can continue something with any one of those members from Sanity. On top of it, you protect the Usos, and you protect the Sanity fight that you've got building, that you're building towards at Extreme Rules, because that's where this is going. I thought they did a really good job protecting and moving storylines along.
But then when you look at Sanity, do you think a loss early on thwarts their, because you're introducing them as these monstrous characters that are going to cause chaos, but They lose early on. So,
but did you see how many super kicks did it take to knock out? I can't remember the Killian Dane, to knock out Killian Dane. It took like 4 super kicks to knock him through the ropes.
So you don't feel like they lost any momentum with a loss?
No, because the way this was set up and the way this was staged, it worked out. It took 2 finishing moves to be able to get the pin from Jeff Hardy. Do you know what I'm saying? So I think you did a decent enough job protecting them in a loss.
So what'd you make of Becky Lynch versus Sonya Deville?
Now, I love both these women.
Yes.
I have a crush on Sonya Deville because I find her to be super hot. Plus, she's a lesbian, so big ups to the LGBT, all that stuff. And Becky Lynch, I've got a crush on her.
Mm-hmm.
I thought this was a solid match. I thought this was really good. I liked it a lot. You end up, Becky Lynch gets a nice win here, and you don't take anything off of Sonya Deville, and you don't take anything off of Mandy Rose with this. So I think it works out really well. Becky Lynch, I don't feel like she's getting rocketed to the moon. She's just kind of...
At least she's starting a push.
Yeah, I don't feel like she's just kind of withering away either. So I think this works out. I thought this was really, really good. What did you make of the announcement that James Ellsworth's going to take on Asuka in an intergender match? Like,
I mean, he's the guy to do it, but I just rather see him be the mouthpiece and stay as the manager. I don't need to see him in the ring right now because I think a good lasting memory of him is the stuff with AJ Styles. Just be the annoying mouthpiece, be the guy that takes bumps periodically. I don't need to see him wrestle because what's it going to do for Asuka to defeat a man? And what's it going to do for James Ellsworth
to lose?
To be in an intergender match? I don't need to see that too often.
Here's the thing.
Thumbs down.
So before Ellsworth got let go, there was talks about him becoming some type of a trans character.
Okay.
So do you see WWE revisiting this and going in that direction? Because you have to remember, he's like one of the only guys who ever fights chicks. Like, he fought Becky Lynch. He's now going to fight Asuka. He always seems to be sticking his nose in Carmilla's business.
If that's the rule they give you, you take it. But for me, I feel like James, if he fought for himself, would say, I can be the next Bobby Heenan. I could be that good as a heel. I can be that annoying, but not in a gimmicky kind of way. Yeah. I mean, seriously, just put him in a suit or put him in something or put him in a Bobby Heenan type outfit. He could be on the level of the most annoying heel manager in the company with his taunts, with the way he interferes, with what he can do. So I feel like there's better out there than to fight women. But if that's what they want to do, then he'll have to accept his role. He's taking the check, but I feel like he could be a really epic manager for a long time. And why not just, I know Carmelo wasn't there, but why not just highlight him, come out and do a promo and talk about a little bit why he came back, what his intentions are. And even, here's the thing, that's something that's underutilized. Why not do a promo for Carmella as her manager?
Right.
Just uplift her and say, Carmella is the baddest person on the planet. She doesn't even have to grace you idiots with her presence. You can do a heel promo, walk to the back, take your 12 minutes and keep it moving. But to set up an Asuka feud, I mean, Asuka deserves better. Go out there and handle your business.
I agree with you all the way around.
So I'm not happy with the way they're doing this.
Yeah, I feel like both Ellsworth and Asuka are being put in bad spots here. Not good.
Right.
Something that was awesome, and I thought this was great.
It was great.
Daniel Bryan ends up winning his main event match against Luke Harper when Eric Rowan interferes. So he gets him locked in with, what was it? Was it the heel lock that he had locked in, or he was setting up the heel lock, I believe? And Eric Rowan jumps in from behind to save Luke Harper. So that's cool. So neither one of these guys, they lose no steam here, which is good, right? As they go to annihilate Daniel Bryan. And it was a good match. I thought it was a really good match between Luke Harper and Daniel Bryan. As they're going to annihilate him, Kane's music hits. And he comes out. And he comes to the ring. And he starts to take care of business on these two guys. They end up fighting back. Next thing you know, Daniel Bryan jumps in. He's doing some work. You reunite Team Hell No, and it was awesome. I was almost in tears. I was so excited.
A lot of people marked out. They were very excited to see Kane. It was good stuff there. Good stuff to see Kane. I think that that after 20 years, his run probably will be short. So why not use him in a good moment? I understand you could have now a match for the next pay-per-view with the Bludgeon Brothers versus Team Hell No, but Daniel Bryan seems destined for so much more. Mm-hmm. So to put him in a tag team match, what does that say about your current level of tag teams,
this
right?
This is the thing, too. So I find this interesting because do you remember how it was just like 3 pay-per-views ago, we were talking about how SmackDown had the best tag team division between the two brands. And now we're bringing back Mayor Kane and we're putting him with the most over babyface we have? Like, is this where our tag team has gone? Has it dove so low that this is where we're at with it? You're right. Daniel Bryan deserves so much more. There is some backstage things that are going on with Daniel Bryan right now. I don't believe he signed a new contract.
Right.
His contract, I believe, expires September 1st.
So there's talk maybe that, okay, we can't maybe shoot him to the moon, give him a title if he's going to try to check us for money or doesn't sign with us.
Exactly. Because before he got cleared, he was already making plans to go other places.
Do you think Daniel Bryan could like leverage himself and be like making some weird demands, like I want to work once a month, or I want to take a lot of time off, I want more vacation time?
I don't think it's the once a month thing, and I don't think it's even the money. I think what it is he had
control.
Well, remember,
if you're Daniel Bryan, what would you ask for in a contract? I feel like you can ask for
whatever you want and you'd get it.
Yeah.
I think his issue isn't so much the money, and it's not so much the control. It's how are you going to utilize me going forward? Because what if I do get another concussion? It's all about the concussion. What if I do get another concussion? Are you then going to shelve me? And then do I have to sit there and go back and be the commissioner of SmackDown or Raw? Is this what's going to happen? Because he said that was the worst time of his life. He hated it. Absolutely hated it. And while all that was going on, he was making side plans because he never expected to be cleared by WWE. He never planned on them clearing him. So he was making moves to go and do All In. He was making moves to go to New Japan. He was making plans to go wrestle. He was putting a list together similar to what Cody Rhodes did, where Cody Rhodes got released. He had a list of 15 matches he immediately wanted to do, and he did all of them. And I think Daniel Bryan is still in that mindset where, what happens if I do bump my head? What are you going to do to me? Because if you do that and you lock me in for the next 3 years of my life, I don't want to be a commissioner. It was awful for me when I had to do it for 6, 8, a year, however many months it was. I don't want to do this again. I want to be able to go and wrestle, and I want to wrestle these guys. And he's got a list of guys that he wants to go wrestle. So I don't know what they're going to be able to do with him, and I don't know if they give him The Miz. I don't know if that match takes place at SummerSlam. We've talked about it, and we think that's where it should. We think it should be a WrestleMania match, but he might not be around for WrestleMania. So do you maybe give him a tag team championships here?
I think it might be the perfect thing to do right now, but it's just not appealing to the fans. That's all it is that I understand what's best for business, but at the level of a Daniel Bryan, it'd be like Bret Hart when he was at the height of his powers and he was the baddest dude and fighting Shawn Michaels, and then going back to the Hart Foundation. I know they were always a staple in his life, but there was a time there for a couple years where it was just Bret Hart having great matches and there was no sign of the Hart Foundation. You want to, like
93, 94-ish?
Yeah, you want to separate Daniel Bryan. You want to separate Daniel Bryan from tag team, but remember too that it might not even have to do with the contract. It might also have to do with when you wrestle as a tag team, you work a little bit less.
Exactly.
Less bumps, take a little bit off for a minute, and spread out the pain throughout the year. Because if you're going to work with a guy like Daniel Bryan, you want to get the most out of him in the next 5 to 6 years. And if we want to take a longer view of it, all I'm saying is if you want Daniel Bryan, I'm saying you could put him in top-level feuds as opposed to tag team wrestling. You don't have to have him in the title picture.
Again, he doesn't have to wrestle every night.
Right.
Though.
He doesn't have to wrestle every night either.
I mean, look, you're saving AJ Styles right now. AJ Styles hasn't been on the show in a wrestling capacity for a little bit now.
Yeah.
You don't need these guys to be on the show killing themselves every single night, night in, night out. You can have them wrestle and have them spotlight once a month.
Okay.
You can save their body.
So, which show in your mind was better?
This is really tough because, again, Raw, I thought was decent. I thought it was really good. A lot better than where we were 3-4 weeks ago. But I think SmackDown, sans AJ Styles, was a little bit better.
Yeah, the mark-out moment from Kane was surprising. It was a big surprise. There was not any rumors that it was going down, so I give it hands down to SmackDown. I felt like a couple segments on Raw really were disappointing, and I felt like just the whole 3 times the use of tag teams where they don't like each other was too much. The main event of Raw was not enough to take down an overall good SmackDown. So SmackDown wins the week, in my opinion.
Awesome. I got news and notes if you want it.
Hit me with the news and notes. What's happening?
All right. So NXT star Orny Loken suffered a broken orbital bone at last week's NXT TakeOver show. He's going to be sidelined for a little bit. He's scheduled for surgery this week, so we're going to kind of have to watch that situation. Sami Zayn's going to miss most of the rest of 2018. He probably won't be back till 2019.
Wow.
He's recovering from 2 torn rotator cuffs.
Tough man.
So he's going to have surgery on the one. He'll then go in 8 weeks later and have surgery on the other.
When he comes back, he should demand a character change.
Exactly.
Heel Sami Zayn was corny and an epic disaster. Heal up, come back, and become the wrestler that you are. Be a face.
This could be probably the best thing that's happened to Sami Zayn.
Yeah,
Give
take
him
some
some
time
time off and then let his character
Reset.
come back.
Reset.
Exactly. So you remember the Enzo Amore Nia Jax storyline?
Yeah, yes, I do.
Okay, you remember that?
Yeah.
So do you want some insight on as to what was supposed to happen with that
How was it going to go
before
down?
he got fired?
He was going to get it in?
Well, apparently he was going to use her to help him win his matches. And in the end, she would find out that he was cheating on her and using her with her best friend, Alexa Bliss. So do you remember how Mickie James all of a sudden went from being a face to becoming a heel, and she was paired with Alexa Bliss, like out of the blue? And the next thing you know, Alexa Bliss is taking shots at Nia Jax. Then we had that awful bullying segment with those two. So that was the basically the retcon because Enzo got the boot.
Got it.
So all this is per Enzo Amore in an interview he did recently on a podcast. So take it for what it's worth. Hell in the Cell, supposed to take place September 16th from San Antonio. We may have some matches that are already being discussed and that may take place. So 2 matches for you. The first one will be Roman Reigns versus Kevin Owens. The next one will be AJ Styles versus Samoa Joe. I like both these. I hope they both happen. I don't know how we get there, but I do like both of them. I like the fact that they're being talked around and discussed right now. That being said, it sounds like Rusev's not winning the title anytime soon. The Undertaker, got some booking dates for you. He's going to be doing a little bit more than what he normally doesn't do because apparently his hip's good. Not sure. He'll be at the MSG House Show on July 7th. He'll also be at the Super Show in Australia when he takes on Triple H. That's going to take place in October. And you can expect to see him at SummerSlam.
Nice.
Rumors are he's going to be having a match, something that he's wanted to do for some time now. They're going to give him this match. Not sure what it is. Going to find out for you, and I'll let you know in the coming weeks. WWE, being total Charlie Bravos.
Exerting some muscle.
Yeah. They blocked the ROH show that was supposed to run at MSG. This was supposed to be the largest event that ROH has ever ran. Basically, WWE spoke to somebody at MSG, like one phone call was made, and the rep actually pulled the deal from ROH. So this is going to go through some litigation with ROH and MSG because ROH says, hey, we want to run the show. There was no offer to say, hey, let's rebook you, let's give you another date, let's do something else. Basically, MSG was like, yeah, no, we can't offer you this, and we're taking it all off the table.
Now, I don't begrudge Vince for using his power. I mean, he has a relationship. They do bring a lot of shows. They have a relationship that he's built there. No other company has run a show there in decades. So why would you then not take advantage of that power if you have it? So it's one of those things where Vince has power right now. He is the marquee promoter, and when he calls and makes demands, you got to listen, because if he says, okay, fine, and I'm not coming back, then he takes it to another arena, and
it
that's
wasn't
that.
even him that called, though.
Right, no, he doesn't have to. I mean, of course, not him directly, but...
It's like the mob boss sent his lackey to
right,
do
the
some work.
WWE's like, look, we have this. We know MSG is our house. We're not having other competitors, because it's like one of those things where I can understand why you would not want your competitor to get over at an MSG house show, because MSG and wrestling has this aura, has this, history of, a relationship with WWE. Remember Hulk Hogan winning the title there and things like that. So he exerted his power. He had the right to do it. But for overall, the wrestling fan, it sucks because, see, when you're Vince right now, do you really ever think that another company could rise up and take you? And here's the thinking,
Well, that's
because
the thing. Because
right,
I think ROH is now building enough steam between
Not to
ROH
take-
and New Japan. I think Vince feels threatened. That's why he's doing this.
Yeah, that's the weird part, is that he feels threatened. But I can understand that, because you don't want to have a show where a supreme memory happens. Maybe a Chris Jericho shows up and creates a memory that gives them more buzz to keep that momentum going. So what he does is you cut it off and you try not to allow a company to get to a certain point where they can become maybe a significant TV competitor with what you're trying to do. But remember, you got $1 billion deal. You're on television. You're on 2 networks. You got your own channel. What more do you want? Do you want to dominate forever and have no other company reach any level of success? I feel like for wrestlers, they should be upset because it limits competition, and that's what these wrestlers would want, is one other company where they can compete and get the most dollars. You need that. But right now, WWE is it. Their stock price is way up. 2 network deals. Great news all around. So Vince is in control, and he's exerting it. And I just think that for maybe a one-off show, maybe just partner. Just say, look, you can do it. Just cut me a little check. Cut me a little slack a little bit. Cut me a little something, and I'll let it happen. I think that's what really should happen is ROH, New Japan should make headway to partner with WWE and begin that relationship. Have events, have co-branded stuff.
At some point, I think that would be awesome to do.
Yeah,
but I don't know if WWE will do it because Vince is so greedy. Like, I've got all this. This is my entire pie, my entire cake. You can't have none.
Right.
You could sit there and you could have such a bigger slice of the pie if you just invite those two organizations in and just do things with them. Like, could you imagine like a War of the Worlds where WWE takes on the best stars from ROH and those guys sit there and take on the best stars from New Japan? Oh my God, I would lose my mind.
It'd be great. It would be amazing.
But the problem is, this is the problem. New Japan guys don't wrestle like WWE guys.
Right. And so for those that like NXT, those that message us and say, hey, the NXT update, NXT ROH, what's better? I think collectively ROH is better with the talent. Young Bucks, Cody Rhodes, and where they're at now is a little bit better, but the engagement and the level of competition, the bigger storylines are at NXT in terms of the top, and they continue to create stars there. ROH, the guys there are already stars, but overall, collectively, I feel like ROH is a little bit better, but the top end storylines are a little bit better at NXT.
Yeah, I think you're right, and I think you're spot on there. Do you see a day, though, where Vince is gone? And I think we all agree Triple H is probably going to take things over and run it, which is weird.
I would see more involvement. But maybe some disagreement from Shane, because Shane and Stephanie would say, we want to continue dominance. We don't want, because remember,
like, our fathers built this. I find it so weird that Triple H has somehow weaseled his way into that. Like, how does...
Because remember, when you work as a partnership, you know in the back of your mind, ROH and New Japan are trying to get over.
Yeah.
And they may use that rub to just say, okay, our partnership's over. Now we're going to start our own TV deal. Imagine an ROH New Japan deal where they get their own thing. And
they already have their own TV deals.
Well, what they should do, what really should happen...
Sinclair, the largest media company, owns ROH.
Their ratings are nowhere near what WWE is.
No,
what should happen is Impact, Ring of Honor, New Japan needs to formulate and become a really significant partner and become that number 2 company, whatever it may be, and you have a working relationship, one company brand, you have a Japan, like the New Japan can be like the NXT, where the young cats can go develop in Japan, come over, and then you have the Ring of Honor and Impact guys morph into a company.
I think New Japan's already there. They just need a bigger television platform to really help get them over. I think they are so... The thing is, people who watch New Japan fall in love with New Japan Wrestling.
Yeah.
It is great.
But I'm talking about competition. If you want to compete, all 3 of those should join up and form a company and get on TV. Maybe not on Fox. Maybe you get back on
TV
USA.
Deal. Yeah, you need the TV money.
Yeah, you need TV money. Or you have a network. Or join up for a network.
While we're talking about TV networks, you brought it up. I forgot to put it on the rundown and include it in the news notes. There was a press conference that was had, and WWE announced basically what's going on with their TV deal. So they've re-upped with NBC Universal. Raw will be staying on USA Network.
Yes.
All right. They also announced their deal and their partnership with Fox.
Big Fox.
Yes. So it's going to be on your local Fox provider.
Channel 2 here in Detroit.
It will be a Friday night show. So
awesome for them.
They're changing that around. It sounds like, because you have to remember too, your local Fox provider does have news at 10 o'clock. That's the one thing about Fox, is they get your news first. So Fox first, whatever. It sounds like it's probably going to be an 8 to 10 o'clock type situation. Deal where it'll be ran. It sounds like it's going to be live.
Yep.
It might be taped, but it sounds like it's going to be a live program on Friday nights.
Can't wait. Anything else?
Yes. Doubling back to ROH. All In, that will be broadcasted, and it sounds like that too will be live. Young Bucks and Cody really haven't provided too many details on how it's going to be aired, but they are going to provide it to the masses. Just kind of working out some finer details. As soon as I get those, I'll have those for you.
Yes, sir. Great news and notes. Enjoy the podcast. Enjoy wrestling where it's at. Extreme Rules is right around the corner. Thank you guys for tuning in. Thank you, Dennis Farrell. We greatly appreciate the compliment. He said, we're the only podcast outside of the one he does that he listens to in terms of wrestling podcasts. Greatly appreciate
That's
it.
a
Very
big
nice
deal because that guy's on iTunes regularly. He
Very
does things
nice.
with Petey Williams and James Ellsworth.
Very nice compliment. Thanks to our friends at the BDR Cast. Check out their live show every Wednesday on the Podcast Detroit platform.
They just celebrated 2 years, by the way.
2 years for Mikey and the fellas. They have great takes, fun entertainment, the most inappropriate wrestling podcast, breaking down the ring. Follow everybody at BDRcast on social media. You can get great stuff as well. And thank you to our supporters who follow us and enjoy our wrestling takes as well. We do see it, and we greatly appreciate it. And thanks to Brian. He's been tagging people, telling them, hey, this is Adam's podcast, and this is what he's doing. He's doing a great job. And we greatly appreciate it. Thanks, Brian.
Thanks, Crane Train.
See everybody next time.
This worked out awesome. You have the reunition. The reunition?
The reunition.
Is that a word?